Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Moya K, Swedish whiskey girl, and today I'm here with quite a fun whiskey. This is from the Defilement series. It's an 8-year-old that has been finished in a newly charred octave cask that's made from chestnut. So this is a whiskey. It is not a Scotch whiskey. And I just have to read to you what it says on the back. But before I forget, it says at 46.7% ABV. And it is available for just under £50 from Master Malt, because it's the team at Atom, their own Master Malt, that have made these. It is said, because it says here, mistakes, mishaps, things we forgot, and healthy dose of bear poking since 2020. And they do have a few others in this series. I think one whiskey that's been in maple syrup casks, for example. And yeah, you're not really sure if it was intentional or if it was perhaps a little bit of a mistake to make these. Because of course in Scotland you have very set rules of what you're allowed to do, which is why this is called a whiskey. It is not a Scotch whiskey, but yeah, you'll see what I mean. So it says a classic. That's 4 words that are covered, and it says a classic whiskey with rich and meaty undertones, matured for 8 years in a standard oak cask prior to being filled into a new charred octave cask made from chestnut wood. Technically, this isn't cool according to the whiskey regulations, as they specify oak in brackets only. Hence, it is no longer able to be called whiskey. The chestnut maturation imparts different flavours to the more traditional oak. Expect flavours of caramel, butterscotch and hot buttered toast aplenty. I love it. I think it's fun. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But, I mean, there's space for mistakes, even in the whiskey world. So let's have a little look on this. We'll start by having a look on the nose. It reminds me of a bourbon because it's very rich in notes. Like it has quite a dry woodiness, which is also quite murky, very big, and it's it's this kind of dry woodiness. It's quite a dry, spicy woodiness that I get on a lot of bourbons, which is probably the new and charred wood influence, which might be similar to perhaps virgin oak. It also has a sweetness. And it's almost like a raisin sweetness, but I wouldn't say not raisin sweetness as you would associate with sherry, but like a touch of that kind of sweetness. And it's like a murky old wood cottage. Yeah, it's definitely a different type of woodiness, which really intrigues me, but it's almost like it could have been a mixture of oak and sherry, but without the sherry character, just a sherry feel. Don't know if that makes sense, but quite sweet and quite, just kind of floating. But yeah, I think the woodiness, so I guess that's the chestnut, is the one that comes out the most. But there is a touch of kind of toffee in there, maybe a little burnt toast. Yeah, and a slight raisin sweetness. Do we dare to have a taste? Sláinte. It's almost smoother than I was anticipating, because the woodiness is so big on the nose that I thought it might be the same kind of drying, or I thought it would be a drying sensation on the palate. It is definitely a wood flavour, and it's a tiny bit of a foreign wood flavour, which I'm guessing is the chestnut. But I do recognise it from the other chestnut influenced whiskies I've tried, one from Method and Madness and one from Agitator, the Swedish distillery that I reviewed the other day. But that's of course not a whiskey yet, it's a sample. But yeah, I do recognise the flavours and aromas. But why is so tricky because it's something new. I'm not entirely sure how to describe it. But it is, murky, autumny, like quite wet leaves woodiness. But it also has a sweetness and almost like burnt caramel in a little bit of a way, because it does have a sweetness, but it's quite fresh, feels fresh, almost like minty on the feel. Yeah, but smooth. And maybe a bit of a cherry fruitiness, because it's like a red and darker kind of fruitiness. Maybe like a red apples, because it is very surprisingly fresh, I would say. It was funny, Cody tried this the other day because he was the one that bought it, because he saw it and he was like, oh, that's intriguing, let's buy a bottle. And he said it was nicer than he thought it would be, which I think was quite a nice thing, much better than the opposite, of course. And yeah, it's much smoother than I thought it to be, of just judging by the nose. The finish isn't very long, but it's still there, and it's just something different. I mean, this is one that I'm sure a lot of our friends who will come over, hopefully in the future, if we're ever allowed to have friends again, will find interesting. There's something floral, or almost grassy about it, like grass after rainfall. Yeah, but the dominant character is a woodiness, but a soft and sweeter, fruity woodiness. Well-rounded and yeah, interesting, just very interesting. And I love that about these kind of whiskies, that they're just curious. I would of course love to hear your thoughts. Have you tried anything with the chestnut influence? Have you tried the Defilement perhaps? Or what do you think of this kind of concept? Mistake? Do you think it was on purpose perhaps? Or yeah, what's your thoughts on it? I'd love to hear what you're thinking, so please put it in the comments here below. And of course, if you like what I'm doing here on YouTube and my other social channels, I'd be absolutely over the moon if you consider using my affiliate links the next time you're shopping with either Master Malt, the Whisky Exchange, or the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. All the information is of course in the section here below, as well as links to my Patreon, my Teespring shop, my website and my Instagram if you're curious about that. As always, a massive thank you to my wonderful supporters on Patreon. You guys are amazing and I'm so grateful you want to continue to support me on my whiskey journey. But I hope you've all had an absolutely wonderful day. Sláinte Skål.